suddenly, without really any reason, getting involved in the Ukrainian war situation. Never mind all that, we can still talk about it. We will talk about it, and we will talk about a great many other things as well. James Max is here. James, very good morning to you.
Very good morning.
Welcome back to a place where you used to be on a regular basis for the next half an hour. But you're here for an extra hour. You'll be here till 7.
I am.
And then you'll be dragged out of the place and, you know...
It's kicking and screaming.
It's kicking and screaming. We've got lots to talk about. The ICC, the International Criminal Court, apparently now saying that Benjamin Netanyahu needs to be arrested for defending his own country. The world has gone completely mad. We'll be talking about the return of the ASBO. We'll be talking about as well all sorts of other stories. Police have dropped the hate crime case against Alison Pearson from the Daily Telegraph. Benefit claims are going to rise by £250,000 a year. The Captain Tom family are under pressure to return some of the £1.5 million that they nicked from everybody. And also the Jaguar rebrand nonsense continues to go on. Let's get a voice note. In case you didn't know how to do it, this is how it sounds.
Morning, Mike. Dan from Norfolk here.
Morning, Mike. Lauren from Portsmouth here. Great show as always.
Hello, Mike.
Hi, Mike. Ivan from the East.
Hi Mike, Nikki here in Shropshire.
Morning Mike, fantastic show.
So there we are, that's what you do. 0344 499 1000. This is Morning Glory, let us get it on. So I'm delighted to say James Max has returned, and normally you'd be sitting here and I'd be sitting there, but here we are.
I mean, it can be arranged.
It can be, yeah. Good to see you. Nice to see you.
Really
back.
nice to see you. Thank you.
There's a lot to talk about this morning. I mean, should we kick off, I suppose, with what's on the front pages? Mostly leading off, but certainly on the Times, Israeli leader faces arrest if he flies into Britain. An awful lot of people have said this is the most ridiculous decision that this International Criminal Court has ever made, not least because they appear to have gone after the leader of a democratically elected government as opposed to all the other people who seem to be trying to kill him.
Well, exactly, and this is where people assume that just because somebody is given the title lawyer or director of public prosecutions or whatever it may be, that they're actually sensible or they know what they're doing, and that they're not going to be influenced by either their own agenda or the agenda of others. And what we have here is we have, whether you agree or not with what's been going on in Gaza, the level of human suffering, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you are, the level of human suffering is something that we all need to be aware of and also to understand. But in order to make these decisions, you need to understand the wider context. As you say, here is the Israeli Prime Minister still dealing with the aftermath of October the 7th. There are still Israeli or internationals who are being held hostage. There is an offensive by the 3 H's, the Hamas, the Houthis and Hezbollah, and they simply do not want Israel to exist. And you would expect your Prime Minister and your leader to ensure that your country can exist and is safe. And at any time this war could stop, should those organisations even just recognise Israel and come to the table. So I think the International Criminal Court is beginning to sign its death knell and also put its message on the door as to who they are, what they stand for, and whether we should support them. Worse, though...
It's beginning to look like the United Nations, isn't it, where the UN, you know, continues to support organisations like UNRWA, even though they know that many of the people that work for UNRWA, who are supposed to be delivering aid, are actually members of Hamas.
Well, you see, that again is the point, and then we have this ridiculous situation that we have our Prime Minister who is prepared to say that he's going to stick by this particular institution, which means that should Benjamin Netanyahu come to this country, he would be arrested. He would be arrested.
But this is typical of Starmer, isn't it? I mean, Keir Starmer is the story here for us, in a way, as much as the International Criminal Court and Israel is an important story. It's Keir Starmer's reaction to it, because he doesn't know what to do, because he only understands law, doesn't he? He only understands kind of, regulations. And so apparently yesterday when he was asked about it, he said, well, you know, of course we recognise the International Criminal Court and we have to wait and see what the full, rolling out of the judicial judgment is. And it's like, no, why don't you just say, look, if Benjamin Netanyahu comes to Britain, we're not going to arrest him because we are not part of that ridiculous cabal.
Exactly.
And he won't say that.
And he should say that in order to make sure that the narrative is clear.
Right.
Because you expect your Prime Minister, or one expects one's Prime Minister, to understand international relations and also to understand where our allegiances lie. And it's very clear that Keir Starmer is dealing with a party that is split over this, has not supported Israel throughout, and I think this is going to be the story that continues to roll as he is put on the spot as to whether he has good judgment.
Well, let's face it, his Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, has already come out before this and said that he thinks that Benjamin Netanyahu should be arrested. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, David Lammy shouldn't be in power and position anyway, given what he said about Trump.
He shouldn't be. But what about Karim Khan? We'll move off this subject in a minute, but Karim Khan, who is the British lawyer at the heart of this particular prosecution at the International Criminal Court, is in the midst of a whole series of sexual allegations against him, right? I put out a tweet yesterday and I said, now what would you do if you're in the midst of a load of sex allegations that might ruin your career? Would you perhaps cause a kind of a distraction? Would you perhaps decide maybe it's a good idea to start charging the President of Israel, Prime Minister of Israel, with war crimes?
And this is what we see with these grandstanding lawyers. And I think this is an individual who is a grandstanding lawyer, who is moving above their station and actually damaging an institution that could do good, but it's not. And I think that this will be the beginning of the end of this organisation, and I think rightly so. I mean, he needs, you know, the light shines. And of course,
as some Jewish commentators said yesterday, we look forward to him charging, you know, the Ayatollah Khomeini with war crimes and with, you know, reasons to be arrested, because they could do that if they wanted.
Well, exactly, they could. And again, this is where do Britain's and our international alliances lie? We do not and should not do anything in support of Iran and what they've done to that region. We should be really clear about who our allies are and why. And we should have better education in this country as to why that war has continued in the region and why Netanyahu, regardless of whether you like him or not or agree with his politics or not, why Israel needs to be supported too.
Absolutely right. Speaking of support, let's talk about Keir Starmer and Putin, because yesterday I was saying, shouldn't it be right that Keir Starmer comes to the House of Commons and actually explains why British missiles have been supplied to Ukraine to fire into Russia? The front page of the Times today says that we are now a legitimate target, according to Vladimir Putin. Let's have a look at what Starmer said in the Commons yesterday.
This is a man who wants destruction, not peace. And after 1,000 days of war, 1,000 days of Ukrainian bravery and sacrifice, I am clear that we must double down in our support. We will not be deterred or distracted by reckless threats. We have consistently said we will do what it takes to support Ukraine and put it in the best possible position going into the winter. The UK's support for Ukraine is always for self-defence. It is proportionate, coordinated and agile, and a response to Russia's own actions.
Well, he says all that, but front page of the Times, as I say, missile strike makes UK a valid target, says Vladimir Putin. So it would have been nice if he perhaps had considered what people thought about that before he decided to agree to it.
Well, exactly, and you would expect these conversations to happen in the House of Commons, but also, given the legacy, particularly on their side of the political fence, you'd expect him to take things to Parliament and to demonstrate that they are being clear about what we are doing and what the risks are. I think most people and I was at parliamentary Prime Minister's Question Times rather the other day when we had the
when he wasn't there.
When he wasn't there, and Angela Rayner chose not to answer any question that she was asked. But I think one of the things is very clear is that from all sides of the House on this particular issue, people are galvanised. And I think because of that, he should actually be more honest with us, more honest with the British public as to what it means, and also how he's going to fund our military. That if, for example, you are going to allow our weapons to be used, great, but then let's make sure that our British forces are well funded, and they're not.
And they're not. Well, bizarre, on the same day that we announced that we're firing missiles into Russia, they slash £500,000 off the budget of the Ministry of Defence, and they say, sorry, we're going to decommission a load of helicopters. I mean, we were asking this question yesterday. I don't know what happens to those helicopters. Do we give them to Ukraine? Do we say, would you like some of these Pumas? Would you like some of these, you know, old-fashioned weaponry, which we apparently don't want anymore? You know, the troop ships, which people tell me actually could still be quite useful for all sorts of reasons, but we're just decommissioning all this stuff and I presume chucking it into the sea.
I do find it extraordinary when it comes to looking at the resources that we have and the waste that's there. If you might remember, back in the 90s and the noughties, we had a whole load of Chinook helicopters that had been stuck in a warehouse for a decade because they got the software wrong. Right. £800 million cost, I think. Now, whether they ever got commissioned or ever got used, I have no idea.
Well, apparently
wouldn't it be
we're still flying some Chinooks which are about 30 or 40 years old.
Yeah, exactly. But wouldn't it be nice if somebody could actually tell us whether our money is being used effectively and whether the equipment that we bought is being deployed?
I know, absolutely incredible. But Starmer continues, and we'll get back onto the themes of international politics in a moment, but Starmer continues to be the worst Prime Minister, I think, that we've ever had. He came out with this yesterday, and I was absolutely staggered by this. He was over in Brazil, missed Prime Minister's questions, as you say. Here's what he thinks is happening in Britain.
Here at the G20 meeting of global leaders, I've had one focus and one focus only, and that is delivering for people across the United Kingdom back at home. We've been rebuilding our reputation on the international stage, making sure that we're at the heart of discussions on the issues that matter most to the United Kingdom, and rebuilding partnerships that have been neglected for many years. And that is to deliver for those really important things across the United Kingdom.
I mean, I'm speechless, practically, because the only thing that he's delivering, right, for the people of Britain is not for the people of Britain at all. He's delivering missiles for the people of Ukraine, he's delivering the Chagos Islands for the people of Mauritius, and he's delivering all sorts of other things for people who are not part of Britain whatsoever. Hotels, perhaps, for migrants coming here. I think he's living in a parallel universe, isn't he?
I think we need to start with that piece of video.
Yeah.
The 11-year-old who made it needs to be fired. Because, first of all, the direction. Who is not telling Keir Starmer, you look wooden, you sound wooden, you sound insincere?
Right. And why have you done a picture of a mountain?
Why have you got pictures of mountains and it's all very, I don't know.
And it's like, oh, look, here's a motorcade. I'm in a motorcade. Well, yeah, you're in Brazil where people get shot for being politicians.
Yes, exactly. And then also, who can't even get the sound levels right? If you actually listened and watched that. I mean, first of all, the music choice is abominable. Right. And secondly, the music is too loud for you to hear. Is it so that we can't chop it up, you know, into various different pieces?
Maybe.
Is that the advice? I don't know. It's horrible.
It is. And also, he is deluded. You know, he has got the worst poll ratings of any Prime Minister ever. He's worse now. He's in fact, we had a piece yesterday saying Elon Musk is now more popular in Britain than Keir Starmer is. He has no support whatsoever in the country. People are fed up. More than 50% of people think we're heading in the wrong direction. You know, he seems to think that gallivanting around the world is what people want him to do. We want him back here. At least he did actually turn up in Parliament yesterday, so thank goodness for that. But, I mean, he's stewarding the country in such a bizarre way and trying to tell us that he's doing things that are good for us, and we don't like it.
I think the point is that the broad headline as to what he said the direction was, everybody wants to see economic growth. The reality is that when it comes to the policy, it doesn't reflect what he said he was going to do.
No.
So when we see,
there
for
is
example...
no growth, is there?
Well, no, there's not going to be
backwards.
growth. There's not going to be growth with the decisions that he's taken. And time again, you know, I know it's boring to say, look at the budget, but because the budget is delivered and you don't know everything that's in it, it takes a long time to go through all the fine detail. When you see the boss of Marks & Spencer and the boss of John Lewis, and both of those people saying this will harm jobs, this will increase inflation, this will make trading more difficult, of course they're big business and of course they're going to fight up for their corner. But if they're saying it, and then you've got the farmers up and down the country, and it's not the big farms, it's everybody in farming saying this will harm growth. And then you have a government...
Even the Bank of England boss, who's not exactly, you know, unfriendly to the Labour Party, even Andrew Bailey's saying it's going to be a problem.
Correct. And then when you have the story that the amount of money that is going to be raised by imposing inheritance tax is being spent by this government overseas on projects... Surely that is the first thing that should get cut before you start increasing our tax regime. It's on the front page of the Express newspaper.
The Daily Express this morning. It's quite a staggering story, this, and we're going to break in a minute, but we'll come back to it. Labour hands over cash to foreign farmers. Labour is facing fury because they're apparently sending huge sums of money to bankroll projects in farming in Africa, Asia and South America. 536 million, which by coincidence is what they want from the farmers in this country.
So once again, you've got destroying our business and handing money overseas. Same with Miliband and those ridiculous environmental claims. So the problem is, and the reason why the wheels have come off so quickly with this government, back to your point, is Starmer has not done what he said he was going to do, and time and again, it's not just one-offs, it's time and again systematically pursuing an ideological narrative which is being driven, if you like, by the policies they're choosing to do. And it's no wonder he's unpopular. The British public, you, me, us, we're not stupid, and we can see what they're doing, and that is why this will be a one-term government.
Yeah, absolutely right. I'm not even sure they'll make the first term.